Hey, and welcome to the Call It Both Ways high school basketball podcast. We're approaching late January, so we're getting close to crunch time. I'm Jeff Linder. This is Jeff Johnson. We are here to talk. We're going to start with boys basketball. JJ, you saw a really good boys game, and boy, I'd hate to call Prairie giant killers because that kind of illustrates that maybe they're a David in the world of Goliath, but because Prairie's absolutely a good team. Just tell me about that. And, they've beaten Kennedy, they've beaten Cedar Falls now. And, where does Prairie fit?
First of all, they fit perfectly in somebody, and actually, I don't know if it was actually from Prairie, so I can't say that, but I did hear Call It Both Ways last night.
Awesome.
It took a while. It was the fourth quarter when things were getting spicy, but I did hear it. So my night was made. And actually the ending, that whole ending of the game and overtime and everything made my night too, because you know how it is. You love to see great games. And last night was one of them. Prairie beating number one, Class 4A, number one, Cedar Falls, 71-70 in double overtime. I mean, this game had everything. It was tight the whole way down the stretch. Obviously it was tight. Looked like Cedar Falls might start pulling away, and then Prairie would make a big play offensively. And, and there they went up 1 point with, I think, a shot with, I can't even remember now. It was like 3 seconds left to go up a point, 3.3. Or no, actually, it was like 5 seconds. Cedar Falls calls timeout, long pass to half court, calls another timeout. Then, had a kid, Keenan Staggy, drives to the hole, gets fouled literally as the buzzer goes off. So, miss both. Prairie wins. You make both. Cedar Falls wins. You split them, they go to overtime. So what happens? He split them. Split the free throws, made the first one, missed the second one. So we play on, and then, first overtime again. Cedar Falls had the last shot, didn't go. And then, Cedar Falls got up 4 in the second overtime with a couple minutes left. And, Prairie made plays, hit a big 3. And then Tay Alexander's just a sophomore, drove the lane after Cedar Falls miss. Put up a right-handed shot, made it, and Cedar Falls got a great look on the out of bounds play, perfectly set up for a wing 3 that didn't fall, and that was it. So huge win for Prairie. 12-3 now, I believe, or 13-3. Like you said, beat Kennedy earlier in the year, and you kind of felt like, all right, well, these Hawks are kind of they're coming, and I think last night they probably arrived. So just a great game, great plays all the way around. Cedar Falls is still a tremendous team. Prairie didn't quite make the top 10 in 4A this week in the IHSAA rankings, but probably might find a way in there next week. And young team too, plays some sophomores and juniors and things. So, Todd Kuntz, who was up at Dunkerton, did a great job at that program, Class 1A program, is in a second year here at Prairie, and he's got the ball rolling. Sounds a lot like the girls, right?
Yeah.
Wayne, over to you with what Bruce Dahl has come in and done from a smaller school, right?
Yeah. Bruce came in. He's won 5 state titles, including the last 4 at Dike New Hartford. They did get beat last night. Kind of the opposite outcome of what you had with Prairie dropping a 6-point girls game with Cedar Falls. So that's their first conference loss. And it's kind of tight at the top in both divisions of the MVC now. In the Valley, Prairie and City High both have 1 conference loss. Wahlert has 2, and Prairie they play City High on Monday and Wahlert on Tuesday next week. So
Wow.
Both of those at home. And then on the other side, the Mississippi division, Xavier's 8-2, Liberty's 7-2, Iowa City West is 7-2, and and there's a lot to decide there. Xavier plays at Liberty on February 11th, and then they host West in the regular season finale on February 14th. So lots to be determined here in both divisions here the rest of the regular season.
And of course, the girls started a week ahead of the boys, right? So
yeah,
you're 1 week closer to the postseason, which is literally right around the corner, correct?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that 1A, 2A, 3A pairings are going to be released on Wednesday next week.
Okay.
And then they're going to do the boys, or I'm sorry, the 4A and 5A probably a few days after that, probably early the week after that. So we're getting close. Conference race is starting to take shape. Bellevue Marquette has clinched a tie in the Tri-Rivers East. Mac Valley in the Tri-Rivers West. They play North Lynn on Friday with a chance to win that outright. And if North Lynn wins that, it'll almost assuredly be a coach championship thing there. Jessup has clinched a tie for the NICL East title. Sigourney in the South Iowa Cedar East. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Going back to the boys a little bit, we've talked, I think the Metro as Prairie has been obviously the best team. When you look at the boys are on the girls' side. This is the boys' side. I mean, jeepers, you got Kennedy in there at number 3 this week. Linbar's number 4 in 4A. Prairie's obviously very much knocking on the door to be ranked. That'd be 3 Metro teams in the Class 4A top 10, and then you have Xavier, who was in there in 3A this week at number 8. The Saints did take a loss last night, so we'll see against really good Dubuque senior team. So we'll see how that affects next week's rankings. But theoretically, when you got possibly 4 of the 7 schools being ranked in the top 10 in their respective class, I guess that's pretty good. It's probably not the heyday like when we had all the D1 kids around here like Marcus Page and Jared Utah and Oglesby and Washburn at Wash, and when it was just unbelievable talent, but shaping out to be a pretty good season in Metro boys basketball. So that's good. I guess that's good to see, without a doubt.
Yeah. Is there a clear-cut favorite in 4A, or is it pretty wide open? Is Cedar Falls still the team to beat in your mind, or is there a cluster of 4 or 5 teams there that you think might have a chance to win it?
Yeah, I think it's open, pretty open, and I think when it comes right down to it, Western Wayne Valley might just be that team to have to beat again. I mean, they're 2-time defending champs, and yeah, Cedar Falls got them by 20 when they played neutral court downtown in Cedar Rapids there right after the holiday break. But I don't know that there's any one clear-cut, totally dominant team in 4A. I might lean towards Valley being the favorite again right now. But again, I mean, that loss last night by Cedar Falls is Tigers are a really, really good team, and they played a very tough schedule. And they played the 2 losses have been to Linmar and Prairie on the road, and they've both been really close games. So, I mean, that team, you can't take anything away from CF. So,
all right. Well, take me through the rankings quick. The other 3 classes, are those fairly wide open too, or is there? Is there a hammer out there like Grandview Christian was, or North Lynn was, or is it going to be a pretty entertaining postseason all the way through for all 4 classes?
Yeah, I think you look at 3A. I feel sorry for the 3A rankings committee, because that is always such a tough class to pick. Teams getting beat on a regular or semi-regular basis, and it's just so hard to figure out a top 10. And the Huxley Ballard, for instance, was number 1 last week, or at the beginning of last week, lost last week and dropped all the way from 1 to 5. Clear Lake's number 1. Decorah is in there at number 2. But I think you can make a case for a lot of teams in 3A. And then, 2A almost always, Northwest Iowa, right, Jeff? Western Christian's in there at 1, and Carroll Kemper's 2 has a real nice team, and Cascade's got a really nice team in there at 8. And Regina moved in the rankings for the first time at number 9. They're 15-1. And 1A, I think everybody believes there's probably 2 teams that are above everyone else right now, and that would be Bellevue Marquette at 1 and Madrid at 2. And Marquette has beaten 2 4A teams this season. So
Really?
there you go. Yep. They tried to play a tough schedule to prepare themselves for the postseason, and that obviously lost by 1 point last year in the 1A title game in North Lynn. But I think that them and Madrid, Marquette and Madrid are probably pretty comfortably the top 2 teams in 1A, and then you can't ever, I guess, say North Lynn doesn't have a chance, because it almost always does. At 14-2, Mason Betchen went over the 1,500 point mark for his career last night in a win for the Lynx. So he's one of the top players, certainly in 1A, and he'll be a handful when the postseason comes around, because he knows all about it. So
Yeah,
that's kind of it. How about in girls? I mean, are there clear cut favorites in any of the classes, Jeff, or is this?
Well, Johnson's kind of been the 4A, I'm sorry, the 5A bully the last few years. They're great. They've got a really good program going. I'd say they're probably the favorite again in 5A, although they did play a 2-point game with Dowling the other night. They won that 64-62. I think those 2 are kind of the co-favorites, with Johnson having a slight advantage there. And then after that, you've got some other CIML teams plus Prairie and maybe a PV or somebody like that. So I would say that's kind of the way it looks in 5A. 4A, North Polk is 16-1. Heelan's 14-2. Those are kind of the two co-favorites there. And then here comes Xavier. They're starting to play well. Tom Lilly's last year, Libby Fandel's senior year. I'd say those are. And Macokota has a really nice team. I saw them a week ago Monday drop a 1-point game to Iowa City Liberty. They've got an all junior lineup, and I think they could make some noise there. Mount Vernon, everybody thinks is a fairly significant favorite in 3A. But there's some teams nipping at their heels. There's some other good WAMAC teams. Dubuque Wallard only has 2 losses. Forest City's got a nice team. They've got 1 loss. ELC, they were runner-up last year. They'll be in the mix. 2A, it kind of starts up in Northwest Iowa with your Rock Valley and Hinton, Central Lyon, those teams up there. Eddyville, Blacksburg, Fremont's the number 1 team. I'd hate to bet a lot of money against Regina, the way they can score. Macokota Valley is our last undefeated team. They'll be in the mix, perhaps. 1A, St. Albert was number 1. They got beat the other night by Carroll. It's kind of, North Lynn, Newell Fonda, Algona, Garrigan. Those 3 teams have been really, really good, off and on the last 5 years. And, I guess longer than that. But, those 3 teams are in the mix too. And I think 1A is going to be a pretty entertaining tournament this year.
And if I remember right, 5A always kicks things off, right, at state?
Yeah, for whatever reason, they go big school first on Monday. And but yeah, it's still down the road. But be interesting to see who makes it. And the pairings are supposed to come out for 1A, 2A, 3A on Wednesday next week. And probably a few days after that, maybe like the Monday, what would that be, the 10th or something like that? That might be when the big school pairings come out.
Hey, I wanted to point out, I know last week we talked about flopping and how you really hadn't seen that in the girls' game. I saw a technical foul called for it last night, and it was in a pretty significant part of the game, Frank, honestly. And it was called against a Cedar Falls kid, and Prairie. I mean, it was a huge. I think it ended up being a 6-point possession in a tight game. They made a shot underneath where the kid tried to draw the charge. The referee didn't buy it, but gave him the 2 points and then gave him flop. So that was 2 technical free throws. And then Prairie got the ball right back and I believe scored again, if I remember right. So, yeah, just interesting. That we talked about it last week, and this was the first time I saw a technical foul actually being called. So, to me, it was very, very interesting and ironic because we just talked about it. So.
Yeah. What do you have the rest of the week?
Well, Friday's kind of a game time decision. Kind of figuring out some things there. Last week was it's nice to get out of town, as you always like to do too, and see some schools and maybe some smaller schools you don't ordinarily see. So I wound my way down to beautiful Wayland, Iowa, Waco High School. First time I ever been there. Beautiful athletic training complex they have there, believe it or not. Brand new, it looked like. So somebody must have sprung for that, but it's beautiful. Anyway, Waco is playing Hillcrest Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to catch up with Hillcrest because it's only had one loss. And Dwight Gingrich, a longtime head coach here, moved into, I believe it's 4th all time now in career victories in the state of Iowa. Did that this season, moved past a couple of guys, and so it worked out. Hillcrest won late, really competitive, defensive oriented game, and was able to catch up with Dwight, who's a super guy, super person, super coach. He's a principal at Hillcrest, and their enrollment's all the way up to, I think it's 73 or 74 this year, Jeff.
I noticed that when I went through the beds documents last year, it just really skyrocketed, and because it had gotten really, really low.
37, Dwight said. It had gotten as low as 37.
What's kind of the reason? Did he give any reason for the bump there?
Just it's kind of gradually come up, and they rebranded. They were always Iowa Mennonite School, and to kind of keep that school alive, they came to the determination. I think it was probably a good idea, right, to get away from that and call itself Hillcrest Academy. It's still obviously an Anabaptist school, but yeah, it seems to have worked, and the rebounding and enrollment, which is good to see. And did you? I think are the beds out? Have you seen the beds for next season?
I've not seen the beds.
Okay. Somebody leaked a little bit of what they thought might be their the cutoffs for football this coming fall. And that was this person's best guess when you took together the beds with the free and reduced lunch formula. So that should be coming out here fairly soon. I think we talked about that a little bit last week too. So that'll be interesting. And I guess Limerick got a football coach. We didn't mention that.
Yeah.
Kind of a segue into that a little bit. Dwayne Orr was hired as Limbar's permanent, I guess, at this point, head varsity football coach. So super guy, very, very nice man. Has experience, coached at Mount Vernon as a head coach. Council Bluffs, Lewis Central, which I did not realize a few years back, and been at Cornell College as a linebackers coach. And so a lot of experience there. And I think we've talked to Jeff that's a program that I think could be one of the schools that keeps up with the behemoths, the juggernauts, and suburban Des Moines. So
I know he was at Mount. I remember he was at Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon. Yep.
Yeah. I've heard pretty good things about him. It'll be interesting. But and like you said, Linn-Mar certainly has the facilities. They certainly have the money, for lack of a better term. I mean, there's. I think that's a program, and we saw that a little bit this year.
They
had a fine season this year, and that we'll see if they can take the so-called next step here.
What do you have the rest of the week?
I am going to be at Delhi on Friday.
Oh, very good.
For North Lynn and Maquoketa Valley. Maquoketa Valley won a game by 4 points at Troy Mills earlier this year. They're undefeated, our only area team that's still unbeaten, and North Lynn still has just the one loss. So either Mac Valley is going to win the title outright, or it's going to be a co-champion thing.
You want to talk about last night's game, Iowa Northwestern? A needed win.
Yeah, necessary win, and we went into that game thinking that was a gimme, and it almost wasn't. It was 85-80. Iowa got down 10 points early and worked its way back into the game. They're up 3 at half, and just kind of steadily pulled away a little bit. It got up to 12 in the fourth quarter, but Northwestern made a couple shots, and Iowa made a couple mistakes, and it got a little dicey at the end, but never in a position that you thought Iowa was in trouble.
So that would be 2 wins in a row, right?
2 wins in a row. They're 14-7 overall, 4-6 in the Big Ten. They still have 3 really, really tough games left in USC, UCLA, and Ohio State. They've got 2 games that I would think should be gimmies with Rutgers and Wisconsin. And that leaves 3 other games at Nebraska, at Minnesota, at Michigan. And I think they probably have to win definitely 1, maybe 2 of those games to make the tournament. I think they could get in at 8-10 in the Big Ten. I think 7-11 might be pretty dicey.
Okay.
So that's where they're at. And of course, Sunday's Caitlin Palooza. Caitlin Clark comes back and going to get her jersey retired after the game. And, with that and with USC coming to town with Juju Watkins, it's going to be a festive atmosphere, to say the least.
I actually saw a couple of pictures from last night. How many folks do you think were actually in the house last night?
I would say maybe 11,000.
Okay.
11,000, maybe 11,500. It wasn't full, but you're playing on a Tuesday night where there's a prep game, where there's prep games all over the place, and not a great scenario as far as getting a big crowd. Northwestern's in town. It wasn't a bad crowd, but it wasn't. It certainly wasn't packed. But on the other hand, it wasn't an Iowa men's game either. So
and those tickets are sold, by the way, folks. All 15,000 of them.
Yep.
So
14,998, and I would say probably 11, maybe 12,000 fannies in the seats.
Was our favorite entitled media lady there?
Oh yeah, she was there.
Did you say hi?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No. We are not tight.
Not communicado. Okay.
No. So.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Probably a lot.
Hockey. What's new in the hockey world? First of all, how was your trip to St. Louis?
It was great until the game started. My St. Louis Blues got played poorly, as they have been recently, and lost 5-2. But it was fun, good time had by all. Was able to catch up with Cedar Rapids Colonel's manager, Brian Dinkelman, who lives down there. I had supper with his family, actually. He's going to AA Wichita this season, so I'm very happy for Dink, and got to see former Rough Rider play, and Max Sasson for Vancouver. So it was great to see him out there. I bet he got 10-11 minutes of ice time. So always great to see the former kids, or the kids that played here formerly, as they move on into pro hockey and in this case the NHL. So Rough Riders had a week, one of those weekends. They played 3-3, which is 3 games in a row, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They won Friday, lost in a shootout on Saturday, and then lost in regulation on Sunday on a goal with 0.6 seconds left, which you'd never see.
Wow.
So instead of getting 6 standing points, which they usually could have had, they only got 3. And Heartlander's been on the road, but they played 3-3 weekend as well against the Kalamazoo Wings. I'll save you a seat if you want to see the Kalamazoo Wings. But they are having a nice women in sports promotion on Saturday down at Extreme Arena. It's just a celebration and a promotion of women's girls sports in every sport. They're doing, some things with that. They're having a couple of players from Minnesota. There is a professional women's hockey league, the PWHL, which has some teams in it, and one of those is up in Minneapolis. Imagine that, right? Minnesota and hockey.
Yeah.
But they're having a couple of players from that team to come down and kind of talk to, a meet and greet type of a thing. And they're doing a Hockey 101 thing with Heartlanders coach Derek Damon and a couple of players before the game for women, trying to hit that market, I guess. So, yeah, if I was 40 years younger, 45 years younger, I'd probably take up the game, but I'm too dang old now. So,
yeah,
too fragile.
Yeah. Well, I don't think so.
Yeah, for sure. So,
yeah. Anything else? I think we've pretty much wrapped everything up here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything off the top of my head. Can't really think of it, and if I do, I'm sure I will. We'll broach the subject next week. So,
all right, sounds good. Well, we'll sign off for today, but thanks for joining us. And for JJ, this is Jeff Linder, and call it both ways, and we'll see you next week.